person who always says yes is easier to exploit than the person who sometimes says no. The employee who never questions authority is easier to manipulate than the one who asks why. The partner who always forgives is easier to abuse than the one with clear consequences. Your predictability isn't making you reliable, it's making you controllable. Right now, someone in your life knows exactly how you'll react to any situation. They know which buttons to push to make you feel guilty. They know what to say to make you back down. They know how to trigger your patterns so you respond exactly as they need you to. And they're using that knowledge, whether consciously or unconsciously, to control your behavior. This isn't paranoia. This is psychology. Predictability is one of the most powerful tools of control, and most people hand it over freely, thinking they're just being consistent, loyal, or dependable. But there's a critical difference between integrity and predictability, between being trustworthy and being controllable. Today, we're going deep into why predictable people are so easy to control, how manipulators exploit your patterns, what makes you predictable in ways you don't realize, and most importantly, how to become strategically unpredictable without losing your values or integrity. This is going to be a comprehensive exploration because understanding this could fundamentally change your relationships, your career, and your power dynamics. So settle in, and let's talk about something that affects every interaction you have. Let's start by understanding the fundamental relationship between predictability and control from a psychological perspective. Why predictability enables control. Control requires knowing what someone will do before they do it. If I can predict your response, I can manipulate the situation to get the outcome I want. It's that simple. Think about it like chess. A skilled player can beat you because they can predict your likely moves based on your patterns. They know that when they do X, you'll probably respond with Y, which allows them to set up Z. Your predictability is their strategic advantage. In human relationships, this works the same way. When someone knows you'll always apologize first after a conflict, they can provoke conflicts and wait for you to cave. When they know you'll always give them another chance, they can repeat harmful behavior without real consequences. When they know they'll never actually leave, they can cross boundaries indefinitely. Your predictability removes their need to change, improve, or treat you well. Why would they? Your predictable response will absorb the cost of their behavior. The illusion of consistency. We're taught that consistency is a virtue. Be the same person you were yesterday. Keep your word. Don't be flaky. And these are good principles when applied appropriately. But there's a shadow side to consistency that nobody talks about. Rigid consistency becomes a cage. When you're so committed to being the reliable one, the forgiving one, the peaceful one, you've locked yourself into patterns that others can exploit. True consistency should be about values, not behaviors. Your values can remain constant, while your behaviors adapt to changing circumstances. But many people confuse the two. They think that if they valued kindness yesterday, they must respond kindly today, even to someone who is actively harming them. This is where predictability becomes dangerous. You're no longer responding to current reality. You're responding to your self-concept and your past patterns. Predictability and the illusion of control. Here's an irony. Often, people become predictable as a way to feel in control. If you control your own behavior rigidly, always kind, always accommodating, always professional, you feel like you're managing the situation. But this backfires. By making yourself rigidly predictable, You've actually given control to anyone who understands your patterns. They don't need to control their own behavior. They just need to trigger yours. The person with true power in any dynamic is often the unpredictable one, not chaotically so, but strategically. They keep others slightly off balance, uncertain about how they'll respond, unable to take their reactions for granted. How predictability gets exploited. Let me give you specific examples of how predictability enables control. The predictably nice person will be taken advantage of repeatedly because harmful people know there are no real consequences. Kindness without boundaries is predictability that invites exploitation. The predictably conflict-avoidant person will be pushed into agreements they don't want because manipulators know they'll cave rather than endure prolonged disagreement. The predictably loyal person will be treated poorly because the exploiter knows they won't leave. Loyalty without self-respect is predictability that enables abuse. The predictably rational person will be drawn into exhausting circular arguments because manipulators know they feel compelled to engage with logic, even when it's bad faith. The predictably guilty person will be controlled through guilt tripping because manipulators know exactly which shame buttons to push. The predictably prideful person will be controlled through challenges to their ego because manipulators know they can't resist proving themselves. In each case, the predictor doesn't even need to be consciously manipulative. Human beings naturally learn patterns and optimize for desired outcomes. Your predictability is their roadmap to getting what they want from you. Predictability versus trustworthiness. This is crucial to understand. Being trustworthy is different from being predictable. Trustworthiness means you have integrity. You keep important commitments. You're honest, and your values are consistent. People can trust that you'll act according to your principles. Predictability means your specific behavioral responses are easily anticipated and can therefore be manipulated. You can be trustworthy without being predictable. In fact, the healthiest people are exactly this. They have strong values, trustworthy, but flexible responses based on context. For example, a trustworthy person keeps promises, but they're unpredictable in the sense that you don't know which promises they'll make. They don't automatically say yes to every request. A trustworthy person is kind, but they're unpredictable in how they express that kindness. Sometimes through warmth, sometimes through tough love, sometimes through distance. A trustworthy person has boundaries, but they're unpredictable in where exactly those boundaries lie in any given situation. You can't take their tolerance for granted. This combination, values-based trustworthiness with response unpredictability, is what makes someone both reliable and difficult to control. Now let's explore the specific factors that make you predictable, often in ways you don't realize. Rigid self-concept. The stronger your attachment to a specific identity, the more predictable you become. If your self-concept is, "I'm a nice person," you've created a predictability trap. Whenever someone accuses you of being mean or unkind, you'll bend over backwards to prove them wrong because the accusation threatens your identity. Manipulators exploit this ruthlessly. They know that if they can frame your boundary setting as mean, your refusal to help as selfish, or your self-advocacy as unkind, you'll abandon those behaviors to preserve your self-concept. Common rigid self-concepts that create predictability. I'm the strong one, can't ask for help or show vulnerability. I'm the peacemaker, can't tolerate conflict or stand firm. I'm professional, can be exploited through appeals to professionalism. I'm a good parent, partner, friend, employee, can be controlled through guilt about falling short of this standard. I'm not dramatic. I will suppress legitimate concerns to maintain this image. I'm independent. I can't accept help even when needed. The more rigidly you cling to any identity, the more easily someone can manipulate you by threatening that identity or appealing to it. Unprocessed trauma and conditioning. Your past experiences create predictable response patterns. If you were conditioned in childhood that anger is dangerous, you'll predictably avoid conflict as an adult. If you were conditioned that love is earned through achievement, you'll predictably overwork to gain approval. These trauma responses and conditioned patterns are highly predictable because they're automatic. You're not consciously choosing them. You're running programming from the past. Manipulators, especially skilled ones, can spot these patterns quickly. If you fawn, people please, when threatened, they'll create low-level threats to keep you compliant. If you freeze when confronted, they'll use confrontation to paralyze you. If you flight, avoid, they'll pursue to keep you engaged. If you fight, they'll provoke you so your anger makes you look unreasonable. Your unexamined patterns are the buttons someone else can push to control your behavior. Fear-based decision-making. If you make decisions primarily from fear, you're extremely predictable. All someone needs to do is figure out what you're afraid of, then leverage that fear. Common fears that create predictability. Fear of abandonment makes you tolerant of poor treatment, afraid to set boundaries, desperate to please. Fear of failure makes you risk-averse, perfectionistic, easily paralyzed. Fear of judgment makes you conflict-avoidant, image-conscious, unable to be authentic. Fear of being alone makes you settle for unhealthy relationships, afraid to leave. Fear of financial insecurity makes you stay in exploitative jobs, unable to advocate for yourself. When fear drives you, your responses become formulaic. Avoid the feared outcome at all costs. This predictability is what keeps you trapped. Excessive transparency. There's a cultural push toward radical transparency and authenticity, sharing everything, being an open book, having no secrets. But excessive transparency makes you predictable and therefore vulnerable. When you share every thought, feeling, insecurity, trigger, and boundary, you're giving others a complete manual for how to manipulate you. They know exactly what bothers you, what you'll tolerate, what you want, what you fear. Healthy boundaries include some opacity, not lying or deception, but discretion about what information you share and with whom. Strategic privacy protects you from exploitation. Consistent routines and patterns. Behavioral patterns create predictability. If you always answer emails within an hour, stay late to finish work, forgive after an apology, back down from confrontation, give people just one more chance, prioritize others over yourself, avoid saying no directly. These patterns become exploitable. People learn they can expect immediate responses and get annoyed when you're not instantly available. Give you extra work knowing you'll do it. Harm you and apologize, knowing forgiveness is automatic. Push you, knowing you'll yield. Repeat bad behavior, knowing you'll tolerate it. Consistency in values is good. Consistency in responses makes you controllable. Strong emotional reactions. If certain topics, words, or situations reliably trigger strong emotional reactions in you, you're predictable. And emotional predictability is one of the easiest forms to exploit. If someone knows that, Calling you selfish makes you immediately apologetic and compliant. Mentioning money makes you anxious and willing to accept less. Bringing up your past mistakes makes you defensive and easier to defeat in arguments. Threatening to leave triggers your abandonment fear and makes you desperate to appease. Comparing you to others triggers your insecurity and makes you try harder. Questioning your commitment makes you overcompensate with grand gestures. They have emotional control buttons. They can reliably trigger responses that benefit them. Visible needs and desires. When your needs and desires are obvious, they become leverage points for control. If everyone knows you desperately want approval from your boss, your partner to propose, to be liked by the group, recognition for your achievements, to avoid being seen as difficult, then everyone knows how to manipulate you, dangle the possibility of getting what you want, or threaten to withhold it and watch you comply. Strategic unpredictability includes some ambiguity about what you want and need. Not pretending you don't have needs, but not making them so obvious that they become weapons against you. Binary thinking. If you think in absolutes, always, never, right, wrong, good, bad, you're predictable because manipulators can trap you in false dichotomies. Either you trust me or you don't. So if you express any doubt, you're labeled as mistrustful. Either you're with us or against us. So any questioning makes you an enemy. A real friend would. So you must do X, or you're not a real friend. People who think in nuance are harder to control because they can hold complexity. I can trust you in some areas and not others. I can disagree with this decision and still support you overall. I can be your friend and still have boundaries. Public commitments and stated principles. The more publicly you commit to specific behaviors or principles, the more predictable you become because you'll feel pressure to remain consistent with your stated positions even when circumstances change. If you've publicly declared, I always give people second chances. I never hold grudges. I believe in being professional at all times. Family always comes first. I'm not the type to give up. You've created a trap for yourself. Now, when someone exploits these principles, you'll feel pressure to uphold them because changing would mean admitting inconsistency or hypocrisy. Manipulators love people with loud principles. They can weaponize those principles against you. Now let's get specific about the tactics people use to exploit your predictability, whether consciously or unconsciously. Pattern recognition and testing. Controllers, whether they're conscious manipulators or just people optimizing for their own benefit, go through a process. Phase 1, testing. They try various approaches to see what works. Do you respond to guilt, flattery, anger, silence, logic, emotion? Phase 2, pattern identification. They notice what reliably gets them what they want. When I get angry, they apologize and give in. When I go silent, they chase and accommodate me. When I compliment them first, they have trouble saying no. Phase 3, exploitation. They use the identified pattern repeatedly because it works. Why try something new when they found your buttons? You might notice this as the same fights happening over and over, the same manipulation tactics being used. The same outcome despite your hoping things will change. That's because they've learned your pattern and have no incentive to stop using it. The predictability consequence loop. Here's how exploiters use your predictability. They behave badly. You respond predictably. Forgive, excuse, try harder, accommodate. They learn. bad behavior, no real consequence. They repeat bad behavior. You respond the same way. Because you're predictable. Pattern reinforces. Your predictability has eliminated any reason for them to change. The consequences of their behavior, your predictable response, are manageable, even desirable from their perspective. Breaking this requires unpredictability. Sometimes forgiving, sometimes not. Sometimes tolerant, sometimes having firm consequences. Sometimes engaging, sometimes withdrawing. When they can't predict your response, their cost-benefit analysis changes. Intermittent reinforcement based on your patterns. Sophisticated controllers don't push buttons constantly. That would be too obvious and might wake you up to the pattern. Instead, they use intermittent reinforcement. They've learned your pattern. You forgive when they apologize. So they abuse you for a while, then apologize, triggering your predictable forgiveness. Then are sweet briefly, reinforcing your hope that change is possible, then revert to abuse. This intermittent pattern, abuse, apologize, brief, kindness, abuse, is incredibly addictive psychologically. It's the same mechanism that makes gambling addictive. And it works because you're predictable in your response to each phase. If you were unpredictable, sometimes accepting apologies, sometimes not, based on actual changed behavior rather than words, this tactic wouldn't work. Emotional button pushing. Once someone knows which emotions reliably override your rational decision-making, they can control you through emotional manipulation. If you're predictably triggered by guilt, they'll guilt trip you constantly. Fear. They'll create fear and position themselves as safety. Shame. They'll shame you to keep you compliant. Anger. They'll provoke your anger so you look unreasonable. Hope. They'll dangle possibilities to keep you engaged. Pride. They'll challenge your ego to make you prove yourself. They're not necessarily sitting in a dark room plotting this. Often it's unconscious optimization. When I make them feel guilty, they do what I want. So I'll keep doing that. Your emotional predictability makes you controllable. Strategic inconsistency to keep you off balance. Interestingly, while they exploit your predictability, skilled controllers maintain their own unpredictability. They're sometimes loving, sometimes cruel, sometimes present, sometimes absent, sometimes reasonable, sometimes irrational. This unpredictability keeps you in a state of anxiety and hypervigilance. You're always trying to figure out which version you're getting, always trying to manage their moods and responses. Meanwhile, your predictability provides them stability. They know how you'll react. The power dynamic is clear. They control the emotional climate. You react to it, wearing down your resistance. Predictable resistance is easy to overcome through persistence. If a controller knows you'll eventually say yes after they ask enough times, they just need to keep asking. If they know you'll eventually forgive after enough apologies, they just need to apologize enough. If they know you can't tolerate conflict for extended periods, they just need to maintain conflict until you cave. Your predictable breaking point becomes their goal. They just need to apply pressure until they reach it, using your principles against you. If you have clear, stated principles, manipulators will weaponize them. You said you believe in second chances, so you must give them another chance. You always said family comes first, so you must tolerate their behavior. I thought you were a forgiving person, so you must forgive this too. You pride yourself on being professional, so you can't call out this abuse. They're using your own predictable adherence to principles to control your behavior. They'd have to follow these principles themselves. Just remind you of yours when convenient. Triangulation based on your patterns. If controllers know you predictably care what others think, they'll bring third parties into the dynamic. Everyone thinks you're overreacting. Your family agrees with me that you're too sensitive. I talked to a mutual friend, and they said I'm right. This works because you predictably care about others' opinions, assume others are telling the truth, want to be seen as reasonable, fear being ganged up on. If you were unpredictable in this area, sometimes caring what others think, sometimes not, sometimes fact-checking claims about what others said, this tactic would lose power. Now let's talk about the solution: strategic unpredictability. This isn't about being chaotic or inconsistent with your values. It's about becoming someone whose specific responses can't be taken for granted. What strategic unpredictability looks like? Strategic unpredictability means your values remain consistent, but your responses vary based on context. People can't take your reactions for granted. Sometimes you're warm, sometimes you're firm, and they can't predict which. Sometimes you give chances, sometimes you don't, based on actual patterns, not just appeals. Sometimes you engage, sometimes you disengage, and the criteria isn't obvious. You maintain some privacy about your thoughts, feelings, and plans. Your boundaries shift based on evidence of respect, not just words or time passed. You're willing to surprise people, including yourself, by responding differently than your pattern would suggest. This creates what's called variable ratio reinforcement for people who interact with you. They can't reliably predict what will get them what they want, so they have to actually earn positive responses rather than manipulating predictable ones. The core principles: 1. Flexible responses, consistent values. Your North Star should be values, not behavioral patterns. If you value respect, that value is consistent. But how you respond to disrespect should vary. Sometimes you address it directly. Sometimes you silently downgrade the relationship. Sometimes you give feedback and another chance. Sometimes you immediately cut contact. Sometimes you ignore minor disrespect and address major patterns. The person doesn't know which they'll get, so they can't game the system. But you're not being arbitrary. You're responding to your assessment of intent, pattern, context, and your own capacity in that moment. 2. Context-dependent boundaries. Rigid boundaries are predictable boundaries. I always forgive or I never give second chances are both predictable. Flexible boundaries based on evidence are strategic. I might forgive this if I see genuine changed behavior over time. I'll give you another chance if you demonstrate understanding of the harm and concrete steps to change. My boundaries depend on whether you respect them when I state them. The key word is might. Possibilities, not guarantees. This keeps the power in your hands. 3. Strategic silence. You don't owe everyone an explanation of your thoughts, feelings, decisions, or boundaries. Sometimes the most powerful response is simply declining to explain yourself. That doesn't work for me. I'm not available for that. I've made my decision. I don't need to explain my reasoning. No justifications for them to argue against. No explanations for them to manipulate around. Just a clear statement of your position. 4. Variable availability. If you're always immediately available, always answering calls, always responding to texts within minutes, always accommodating schedule requests, you're predictably accessible. Strategic unpredictability means sometimes responding immediately, sometimes taking days, sometimes being very available, sometimes being scarce, sometimes accommodating, sometimes firm about your schedule, not following a predictable pattern they can count on. This isn't game playing. It's honoring your actual availability and energy rather than performing constant accessibility. 5. Comfort with surprising people. Most people hate surprising others, especially negatively. I want them to think I've changed, or they're expecting me to be okay with this. But being willing to surprise people, to respond differently than your pattern would suggest, is powerful. The person who always says yes occasionally, saying no with no explanation. The person who always forgives, occasionally not forgiving. The person who always stays calm, occasionally expressing anger. The person who always engages, occasionally refusing to discuss something. The person who never leaves, occasionally leaving. This recalibrates others' expectations. They learn they can't take you for granted. 6. Selective transparency. Share strategically, not automatically. Not everyone deserves to know your vulnerabilities and insecurities, your exact boundaries until they need to know, your triggers and sensitivities, your plans and intentions, your thought process behind decisions. Information is power. When you share everything, you give away power. Strategic opacity protects you. 7. Response delay. Predictable people respond immediately and automatically. Unpredictable people pause. When someone makes a request, triggers you emotionally, or violates a boundary, instead of your automatic response, try. Let me think about that and get back to you. I need to sit with this before responding. Give me a day to consider. This pause serves multiple functions. Gives you time to choose your response rather than react automatically. Creates unpredictability. They don't get the instant response they expected. Demonstrates that you take decisions seriously rather than being impulsive. Reduces their ability to pressure you into immediate compliance. 8. Willingness to be misunderstood. Predictable people frantically explain themselves to avoid being misunderstood. Unpredictable people are comfortable with some misunderstanding. If someone misinterprets your boundary as meanness, you don't need to over-explain or justify. If someone thinks your changed response means you've changed as a person, let them think that. If someone is confused by your unpredictability, that confusion is serving a purpose. You don't need everyone to understand you perfectly. You especially don't need manipulators to understand your reasoning. That just gives them ammunition. How strategic unpredictability changes dynamics. When you become strategically unpredictable, controllers lose interest. Manipulation requires predictability. When they can't reliably predict your responses, the cost-benefit calculation changes. Many will simply move on to easier targets. Healthy people appreciate it. Good people don't need you to be predictably accommodating. They respect boundaries, appreciate authenticity, and aren't trying to control you anyway. You reclaim power. When your responses aren't automatic, you're making choices. Choice is power. You're no longer a puppet dancing to predictable strings. You become more authentic. Ironically, strategic unpredictability often makes you more genuine, not less. You're responding to actual circumstances rather than performing a role or maintaining a pattern. Your relationships improve. The relationships that survive your unpredictability are the ones worth keeping. The ones that don't were likely exploited anyway. Now let's get practical. How do you actually become strategically unpredictable without losing yourself or becoming someone you don't recognize? Step 1. Identify your predictable patterns. First, you need to know what you're working with. Reflect on: how do you typically respond to conflict? What do you always do after an apology? How do you usually handle boundary violations? What's your automatic response to criticism? How do people typically get you to say yes to things? What emotional triggers reliably get certain reactions from you? What patterns have multiple people exploited? Write these down. These are your predictability vulnerabilities. Step 2. Examine the cost of each pattern. For each predictable pattern, ask: how has this pattern cost me? Who has exploited this pattern? What would be different if I sometimes responded differently? Am I maintaining this pattern out of values or out of fear? Is this pattern serving me or serving people who want to control me? This builds motivation for change. You're not changing to be difficult. You're changing because your predictability has enabled your exploitation. Step 3. Identify your core values. Strategic unpredictability isn't randomness. It's flexibility in service of consistent values. What actually matters to you? Respect, both giving and receiving. Honesty, compassion, justice, authenticity, growth, peace, autonomy. These values stay constant, but how you honor them in any given situation can vary. Step 4. Create decision criteria, not automatic responses. Instead of "I always forgive people who apologize," develop criteria. I consider forgiving someone based on whether they demonstrate understanding of the harm they caused, whether I see evidence of actual changed behavior, not just words, whether this is a pattern or a one-time mistake, whether the relationship is worth the investment of forgiveness, whether my forgiveness would enable further harm, what gut instinct says about their sincerity. Now you have flexibility. Sometimes you'll forgive, sometimes you won't, based on actual assessment rather than automatic pattern. Step 5. Practice small unpredictabilities. Start with low-stakes situations. If you always answer a certain person immediately, wait a few hours next time. If you always say yes to a particular request, say no once. If you always explain yourself extensively, give a simple no without justification. If you always apologize first after conflict, wait for them to apologize this time. If you always accommodate others' preferences, state your own first. These small experiments teach you that the world doesn't end when you break pattern. People can handle your unpredictability. You have more choice than you realized. Breaking pattern feels uncomfortable at first, but gets easier. Step 6. Develop a pause practice. Train yourself to pause before responding, especially in situations where you have strong patterns. Someone makes a request. Paused. Let me get back to you. Someone violates a boundary. Pause. Decide response based on context. Someone tries to guilt you. Pause. Notice the manipulation. Someone triggers an emotional response. Pause and choose whether to engage. The pause is where unpredictability lives. It's the space between stimulus and response where you reclaim choice. Step 7. Vary your responses based on evidence. Instead of always responding the same way to the same behavior, calibrate your response based on pattern versus isolated incident. One-time mistake gets different response than repeated pattern. Intent. Genuine mistake gets different response than calculated manipulation. Accountability. Someone who takes responsibility gets different response than someone who deflects. Changed behavior. Someone showing actual change gets different response than someone just promising change. Your capacity. Same behavior might get different responses depending on your current capacity and energy. Relationship investment. Someone who has earned your trust gets different response than someone who hasn't. This isn't arbitrary, it's discerning. But from the outside, it appears unpredictable because people can't just repeat a behavior and expect the same result. Step 8. Get comfortable with others' discomfort. When you become unpredictable, people who benefited from your predictability will be uncomfortable. They might accuse you of changing, say you're not being yourself, claim you've become difficult or mean, push harder to get the old predictable response, express confusion or hurt. This is actually good news. It means your unpredictability is working. Healthy people will adjust. Controllers will often leave. Let them be uncomfortable. Their discomfort is not your responsibility. Step 9. Maintain strategic privacy. Practice giving less information. Don't explain your reasoning for every decision. Don't share every feeling or thought. Don't telegraph your boundaries before testing whether someone will respect them. Don't announce your plans before executing them. Don't justify your choices to people who haven't earned that level of access. This isn't lying or deception. Boundaries around information sharing. Step 10. Trust your gut over your pattern. Your gut often knows when a situation calls for a different response than your usual pattern, but predictable people override their gut to maintain consistency. Practice trusting those instincts. I know I usually give another chance, but something feels different this time. I typically explain myself, but I don't feel safe doing that here. I generally forgive quickly, but I'm not ready yet, and that's okay. I usually stay calm, but I'm going to express my anger this time. Your gut is context sensitive in a way your patterns aren't. Trust it. Step 11. Embrace selective authenticity. You can be genuinely yourself without being an open book to everyone. Authenticity doesn't mean constant full disclosure. It means being honest, acting in alignment with values, not performing a false self, expressing your truth when appropriate, not suppressing yourself. But you get to choose when it's appropriate, with whom and how much. That choice is part of authentic self-protection. Step 12. Build a support system. Becoming unpredictable challenges your identity and others' expectations. You need support, therapy or coaching to process the changes, friends who understand what you're doing, community of people who value healthy boundaries, resources, books, podcasts, videos that reinforce these concepts. Change is hard. Support makes it possible. Common mistakes to avoid. Mistake 1. Becoming chaotically inconsistent. Strategic unpredictability isn't randomness. Your values guide you. You're just flexible in how you express them. Mistake 2. Using unpredictability as punishment. This isn't about punishing people who took advantage of your predictability. It's about protecting yourself going forward. Mistake 3. Explaining your strategic unpredictability Don't tell manipulators I'm working on being less predictable so you can't control me. Just be less predictable. Explanations give them strategies to adapt. Mistake 4. Expecting immediate results. People are used to your patterns. It takes time for them to learn you've changed. Some will test whether the change is real. Stay consistent with your inconsistency. Mistake 5. Abandoning all consistency. Some consistency is good in values, in important commitments, in how you treat people. Strategic unpredictability is about specific behavioral patterns that enable control, not about becoming unreliable. Let's look at how strategic unpredictability applies in specific relationship contexts. 1. In romantic relationships. Predictability in romance often manifests as always being the one to apologize first, always being the one to initiate difficult conversations, always being available when they reach out, always forgiving after they've hurt you, always accommodating their needs over yours. Strategic unpredictability means sometimes you apologize first, sometimes you wait. Sometimes you initiate the conversation. Sometimes you let the issue hang. Sometimes you're immediately available. Sometimes you're not. Sometimes you forgive. Sometimes there are real consequences. Sometimes you accommodate. Sometimes you prioritize yourself. This creates a dynamic where your partner can't take you for granted. They have to actually consider your needs, because they can't predict you'll always sacrifice them. In the workplace predictability looks like always saying yes to extra work, always staying late, always being the one to solve problems, always being available outside work hours, never pushing back on unreasonable demands. Strategic unpredictability means sometimes you take on extra work. Sometimes you decline based on capacity. Sometimes you stay late. Sometimes you leave on time. Sometimes you solve the problem. Sometimes you delegate or let others handle it. Sometimes you're available. Sometimes you're offline. Sometimes you accommodate. Sometimes you push back. This prevents exploitation while maintaining professionalism. You're reliable in delivering your actual job, but unpredictable in how far you'll go beyond it. With family predictability often includes always attending family events, always mediating family conflicts, always being the emotional support for everyone, always putting family needs before your own, always accepting behavior you wouldn't accept from others. Strategic unpredictability means sometimes you attend, sometimes you don't based on your well-being, sometimes you mediate, sometimes you let them work it out, sometimes you provide support, sometimes you direct them to other resources. Sometimes family comes first, sometimes you do. Sometimes you tolerate difficult family, sometimes you set firm boundaries. This is especially hard because family often has the strongest expectations of your predictable role. But it's also where strategic unpredictability is often most needed. With friends, friendship predictability might be always being the one to reach out, always being the listener supporter, always being available when they need you, always going along with group decisions, always being the conflict avoider. Strategic unpredictability means sometimes you reach out, sometimes you wait to see if they do, sometimes you listen, sometimes you share your own struggles, sometimes you're available, sometimes you're not, sometimes you go along, sometimes you express preferences, sometimes you avoid conflict, sometimes you address issues. Real friendships survive and strengthen with unpredictability. Exploited ones often end. Let's talk about what you gain when you embrace strategic unpredictability. You reclaim your power. Predictability gives power to others. They know how to get what they want from you. Unpredictability returns power to you. You decide in each moment what response serves you. This doesn't mean being selfish or cruel. It means being sovereign over your own responses. You're no longer a vending machine where people insert the right coin, manipulation tactic, and reliably get the product, your predictable response. You become more authentic. Ironically, strategic unpredictability often makes you more genuine, not less. When you're predictable, you're performing a role, the reliable one, the forgiving one, the accommodating one. When you're strategically unpredictable, you're responding to actual circumstances with actual consideration. Sometimes that means kindness, sometimes firmness, sometimes generosity, sometimes boundaries. You're being truly responsive rather than automatically predictable. Your relationships improve. The relationships that survive your unpredictability are the real ones. The ones that depended on your predictable compliance or accommodation were exploitative. What remains are relationships where people respect your boundaries because they can't predict you'll always cave. People value you for yourself, not just what you do for them. People actually change their behavior because they can't count on automatic forgiveness. People invest in the relationship because they can't take you for granted. People appreciate your flexibility because they're not exploiting it. You feel more alive. Living according to rigid patterns is deadening. You become a robot, executing programmed responses. Strategic unpredictability wakes you up. Each interaction becomes a choice. Each response is conscious. You're engaging with life rather than autopiloting through it according to predetermined scripts. You trust yourself more. When you're predictably accommodating or predictably reactive, you learn you can't trust yourself to protect yourself. You override your own instincts and needs for the pattern. Strategic unpredictability rebuilds self-trust. You learn that you can trust yourself to assess situations individually, make different choices based on context, protect yourself when needed, be flexible without being a pushover, honor your values while adapting your responses. You stop being a target. Manipulators, exploiters, and controllers seek predictable people because they're easier to manage. When you become unpredictable, you're no longer an appealing target. They might test you a few times, but when they can't reliably get what they want, they typically move on to someone more predictable. This naturally filters your social circle toward healthier people. Let's bring this full circle. Your predictability isn't making you reliable, trustworthy, or consistent, making you controllable. Every time someone knows exactly how you'll respond, they can manipulate the situation to get what they want. Your patterns become their tools. Your consistency becomes their certainty. Your predictability becomes your cage. But you have more power than you realize. You can be trustworthy, keeping important commitments, acting with integrity, being honest, while also being strategically unpredictable in your specific responses. You can maintain your values while varying how you express them. You can be kind sometimes and firm other times. You can forgive some things and not others. You can be available sometimes and boundaried other times. This isn't about being manipulative yourself. It's about refusing to be manipulated. It's about reclaiming the power to choose your responses rather than executing automatic patterns that others have learned to exploit. Strategic unpredictability is freedom. It's the freedom to respond authentically to each unique situation rather than performing the same script regardless of context. It's the freedom to surprise people, including yourself. It's the freedom to grow and change rather than being locked into who you've always been. So start small. Notice one predictable pattern that's being exploited. Choose one moment to respond differently. Surprise yourself. Surprise them. See what happens. You might lose some relationships. Good. Those were probably exploitative anyway. You might make some people uncomfortable. Good. They were comfortable because they could control you. What you'll gain is agency, authenticity, power, and relationships based on genuine respect rather than predictable compliance. You are not a machine with buttons others can push. You are a complex, evolving human with the capacity to choose different responses. Use that capacity and be unpredictably yourself. Be unpredictably boundaried. Be unpredictably kind and unpredictably firm. Be someone others have to actually respect because they can't take you for granted. Thank you for spending this time with me, exploring this crucial topic. If this resonated, share your experiences in the comments. What patterns have made you predictable? What would you like to change? How might strategic unpredictability serve you? We learn from each other, and together we can all become a little harder to control. Take care of yourself. You have more power than you've been using. If this video opened your eyes to your own predictability, please like and subscribe. I create content on psychology, power dynamics, and personal sovereignty. Resources in the description. Book recommendations on boundaries and power dynamics. Worksheets on identifying your predictable patterns. Information on therapy for pattern-breaking work. You're not a puppet. Cut the predictable strings. See you in the next video.